Red Bull just revealed a hidden Miami package that could change everything for Verstappen overnight. Not a small upgrade. A complete aerodynamic reset, combined with up to 10 kilograms of weight removed. A gain so big, engineers estimate nearly half a second per lap, just from fixes and new rules working together. And here's the part nobody saw coming. The exact weaknesses that made the RB22 unpredictable are the same areas the FIA just stabilized. Which means the car that was impossible to drive might suddenly become the most precise on the grid. This isn't just an upgrade. This is a calculated comeback. And if it works, Verstappen won't just fight back. He could crush the entire field again. It began with something Red Bull almost never admits. They didn't understand their own car. Not completely. Not in a way that allows dominance. Because the RB22 wasn't just underperforming at the start of the season, it was unpredictable. One corner felt stable. The next, completely different. One lap looked competitive. The next, impossible to repeat. And for a team that built its success on precision, that kind of inconsistency is a disaster. The data was there. The simulations were there. But the reality on track didn't match. And that's the worst situation in Formula One. Because if your data lies to you, every decision becomes a guess. And Red Bull was guessing. At the same time, the problems were stacking. Up to 10 kilograms overweight. That alone, costing huge time every lap. We're talking about roughly 0.3 of a second, just from extra mass. Then came the deeper issue. Aerodynamics. Red Bull took a risk. An extreme concept. Ultra-narrow side pods, designed to maximize airflow efficiency. But instead of controlling the air, they destabilized it. The airflow reaching the floor was chaotic. And in this generation of Formula One, the floor is everything. That's where downforce is generated. That's where grip is created. So if the airflow feeding the floor is unstable, the entire car loses balance. And that's exactly what happened. Less downforce, less grip, less confidence. And confidence is what allows drivers to push. Without it, even the fastest car becomes slow. But it didn't stop there. Because the weight distribution made everything worse. Too much mass in the wrong areas. Suspension working outside its optimal range. The car bouncing, reacting unpredictably. And Verstappen? Forced to adapt, instead of attack. But the most surprising weakness? The starts. Red Bull, one of the worst on the grid. Losing positions before the race even settled. A problem caused by engine behavior at low speed. And poor integration with the energy system. Which meant every race started from behind. And in Formula One, starting behind changes everything. So now you have the full picture. A car that's heavy, unstable, difficult to understand. And losing positions before the race even begins. That's not a small issue. That's a complete breakdown of performance. And Red Bull knew something had to change. Not gradually. Not with small fixes. Completely. Because when the problem is understanding, the solution isn't adjustment. It's transformation. And that's exactly what they brought to Miami. A second launch of the season. And this is where Red Bull made the decision that changes everything. They stopped trying to fix the RB22. And started rebuilding how it works. Because once they identified the real problem, airflow instability, they didn't adjust it. They replaced the concept. The most radical change? The side pods. Completely redesigned. The original version was extreme, narrow, aggressive, risky. Now, the new design is controlled. Wider at the top, sharply sloping down toward the floor. And that single change does something critical. It creates a stable pressure zone, guiding clean air exactly where the car needs it most. The floor. Because in this era of Formula One, the floor is the car. If the airflow reaches it correctly, downforce explodes. If it doesn't, performance disappears. Before Miami, the RB22 couldn't feed that airflow properly. Now, it finally can. And when that happens, the entire car transforms. More grip, more stability, more confidence. But Red Bull didn't stop at the side pods. Because airflow isn't a single element. It's a chain. And they rebuilt that chain from front to rear. The front wing now includes new elements on the end plates. Not for speed, for control. These pieces clean the airflow before it even reaches the body of the car. Which means everything downstream works better. Then comes a detail that looks small, but changes everything. A deflector near the halo. Inspired by Ferrari. Its job is simple, but critical. Redirect airflow over the cockpit, toward the rear. Feeding the engine cover, the shark fin, the rear wing. And suddenly, the airflow that used to break apart mid-car stays connected. Finally, the rear. The engine cover reshaped. The shark fin redesigned. all working together to stabilize the air as it leaves the car. Because if the rear is stable, the driver feels it instantly. Confidence on corner entry, confidence on throttle, confidence at the limit. Now step back and look at the full picture. Front wing controlling the air, side pods guiding it, halo deflector redirecting it, rear bodywork stabilizing it. This isn't an upgrade. It's a complete airflow system. And when that system works, the car stops fighting itself. But there's another layer that makes this even more powerful. Weight. Up to 10 kilograms removed. And that's not just about speed. It's about balance. Because before Miami, the RB22 wasn't just heavy. It was incorrectly balanced. Too much load in the wrong places. Affecting suspension. Affecting behavior. Now, that weight is gone and redistributed properly. And suddenly, the car responds the way it was always supposed to. Sharper, cleaner, more precise. But here's where everything connects. Because all these changes arrive at the exact moment the FIA adjusts the rules. And those changes? They remove the very behaviors that made the RB22 so difficult. Superclipping becomes smoother. No more unpredictable resistance under braking. Energy deployment becomes more controlled. Less chaos, more consistency. And even the start system gets indirect help through new detection logic, fixing one of Red Bull's biggest weaknesses. So now, everything aligns. The car is stable. The behavior is predictable. The balance is correct. And Verstappen? He finally has what he's been missing all season. A car that responds exactly the way he expects. And when that happens, he doesn't adapt to the car anymore. The car adapts to him. And that's when things become dangerous. Because Verstappen with a predictable car is not just fast. He's relentless. Lap after lap. Corner after corner. Finding time where others can't. And that's exactly what this Miami package is designed to unlock. But there's still one final barrier. Because none of this matters until it works under pressure. On track. In one of the most demanding weekends of the season. And when that moment arrives, we're going to find out if Red Bull just fixed their problems. Or created something the rest of the grid can't stop. And now, everything comes down to execution. Because no matter how advanced this package is, no matter how perfect it looks in simulation, Formula One doesn't reward potential. It rewards what happens on track. And Miami is the worst possible place to prove something this complex. One practice session. That's it. 1 hour to understand a car that has been completely transformed. New airflow. New balance. New behavior. Everything Verstappen learned in the first races no longer applies. And that creates pressure. Immediate pressure. Because if the setup is even slightly off, if the balance isn't perfect from the first laps, then the entire system becomes difficult to unlock. Too much front grip, the rear becomes unstable. Too little downforce, tires start overheating. Incorrect energy mapping, acceleration feels inconsistent. And those small issues? They multiply. Corner after corner. Lap after lap. Until performance disappears. But here's where the story changes. Because if Red Bull gets it right, if they hit that narrow window, then everything we've talked about becomes real instantly. Because this car isn't designed to be slightly better. It's designed to unlock Verstappen. And when Verstappen is unlocked, something different happens. He doesn't just follow the limit. He redefines it. Braking later. Carrying more speed. Finding grip where others don't even try. And suddenly, lap times appear that don't make sense. But there's one moment where all of this becomes visible. Qualifying. 1 lap. No traffic. No strategy. Just pure performance. Because if the RB22 finally behaves the way it should, that lap will expose everything. If Verstappen jumps forward on the grid, if he suddenly fights at the front again, then the transformation is real. And once he starts at the front, everything changes. Clean air. Control. Freedom to manage the race. No need to fight through traffic. No need to take risks. Just execute. And when Red Bull executes from the front, they become almost impossible to beat. But if they miss it, if the car isn't fully understood yet, then all that potential stays hidden. Fast, but inconsistent. Competitive, but difficult to use. And that's the danger of bringing such a massive package into a sprint weekend. Because you don't just need performance. You need understanding, immediately. And that's the real battle in Miami. Not just against Ferrari. Not just against Mercedes. But against time. Against complexity. Against the risk of not unlocking what you've built. But here's the final layer. The one that changes everything. Red Bull doesn't need to dominate immediately. They just need to get close. Because once they're close, development begins to accelerate. Data becomes reliable. Upgrades become precise. And race after race, they improve faster than anyone else. That's what has defined Red Bull for years. Not just speed, but evolution. And if Miami is the moment they finally understand the RB22, then this isn't just a comeback. It's the starting point of something much bigger. Because once Verstappen has a car he trusts, once the team understands how to extract performance, once everything aligns, there's no gradual progress. There's a surge. And that surge is what the rest of the grid fears the most. Because it doesn't just close the gap, it erases it. And if that process begins in Miami, then the real question isn't whether Red Bull can win again. It's how quickly they take control of the entire championship once more.